Chosen ones. There was a moment the ancient seers feared and longed for. A moment when the sacred emerald tablets would shimmer once more, not with light, but with response. That moment is now, and it happened because of you. These tablets are not relics, they are reactive consciousness, vibrating codes sealed in language far older than tongues. Thoth did not write them. He encoded them with multi-dimensional truth, preserved for a being whose frequency could unlock time itself. That being was always prophesied, but none knew it would be you. The scribes of Atlantis whispered that if the one ever read the tablets with eyes unclouded by illusion, the geometry of the entire universe would shift, not metaphorically. Celestial bodies would reposition, portals would awaken, sleepers would stir. That shift is not coming. It has already begun. Your energy is destabilizing illusions that have held empires together. Reality, as the world knew it, is fraying. And what's more, every sacred text, every hidden prophecy, every occult manuscript was quietly awaiting your activation. The emerald tablets were the final lock, but your gaze was the master key. You didn't just read the tablets. You were read by them. They saw your soul wrapped in forgotten light. They pulsed in recognition. And then, something unheard of occurred. They shifted. The words twisted mid-sentence. Ancient glyphs rearranged. What was once fixed, fluid. Entire verses now speak only when you are near. This isn't mysticism. It's cosmic calibration. You've triggered a universal event. But here's the terrifying part. The shift wasn't silent. Across dimensions, beings who feed on secrecy felt it. Guardians who thought their time was over awakened. The Watchers repositioned. Even the so-called gods of old took note. Why? Because the shift rewrote the coordinates of divine power and centered them around you. This is why strange dreams have returned, why technology glitches when you enter a room, why your body feels like it's pulsing between timelines. You're not broken, you're activating. There are moments in existence where time itself pauses, not because it is instructed to, but because it recognizes a presence that supersedes its own authority. That moment came the day your soul reawakened. The laws that govern reality, gravity, time, perception, began bending, subtly at first, like shadows shifting without a source. You weren't taught this. You triggered it, not by effort but by alignment. Your name, as ancient as the stardust forming galaxies, began to vibrate in resonance with truths that hadn't surfaced since the collapse of Atlantis. The emerald tablets always spoke in riddles because they weren't designed to be understood by logic, but by frequency. When you came into alignment, the encoded energy of your very essence began rippling across the multidimensional web that holds this illusion together. Walls began to soften. Symbols started appearing in dreams. Reality took notice and began to adapt. It started with coincidences, stacking faster than logic could explain. You looked at the sky, and it felt different, lighter. Then came the internal knowing, the memories that weren't yours, and yet felt as if they'd always lived inside your bones. Something was bending, and it wasn't just fate. It was the architecture of the simulation itself, because your presence is not passive, it's catalytic. You were never meant to merely survive this matrix. You were born to reconfigure it. The laws, the constructs, the boundaries, they were designed to fail in your proximity. Every time you speak truth, the illusion weakens. Every time you see beyond the veil, the programming falters. And in those cracks, light enters. Light not from the sun, but from the source behind the sun, the one that recognizes you as its reflection. There are no teachers for what's happening now, no map, no guidebook. Because you're not following a path, you're forging one. And the universe is rewriting itself as you walk. Somewhere, right now, the elders of the old world are watching this unfold. They've never seen this law bend. They've never seen this pattern crack. There's a reason the emerald tablets could not be fully deciphered by scholars or mystics. It was never about language. It was about access. And access was always bound to you. Thoth, the keeper of wisdom and the scribe of all dimensions, encoded something into the tablets that even he could not retrieve. He hid it within the folds of eternity, behind vibrations that only respond to the soul frequency of a being written about before time had breath. That being is now awake, and that being is you. The lines of text, long believed to be static, are now shifting as your presence draws near. It's as if the glyphs remember you, as if they're reaching toward you, desperate to deliver a message they were sworn to protect across millennia. Scholars mistook the tablets for a book, but in truth, they are a mirror, one that only reveals its secrets when your reflection carries the divine spark of the forgotten origin. Your soul does. Thoth knew what would happen if the wrong hands tried to extract the codes. That's why he didn't just encode words. He encrypted light, living geometry, ethereal mathematics, seals made not of ink but of intent, each one locked by a truth only your soul has lived. It's why others felt confusion. But when you approached, the tablet trembled. You've likely noticed the subtle memories surfacing, symbols flashing in your dreams, words you never studied but somehow comprehend. These are not delusions. They are echoes, ripples of the original code activating. What you feel isn't imagination. It's recognition. And here's what the Guardians never expected: that you wouldn't just understand the code, you would change it. Just as the Logos once spoke a word that remade the cosmos, so now does your essence rewrite what even Thoth had sealed. In the beginning was the Word, and that Word recognizes something in you it hasn't seen in ages: authority. The encryption was not meant to last forever. It was a timed seal, set to unlock not by date, but by the arrival of a soul capable of altering reality's root command. That soul has arrived, but the deeper layers remain hidden. The code is shifting. Something ancient is waking. The awakening wasn't loud. It wasn't a flash in the sky or the tremor of the earth. It was a frequency shift, a silent pulse moving through dimensions like a forgotten heartbeat, finally remembered. And yet, the moment your consciousness pierced the veil, the stars began to whisper. Constellations that had held their pattern for eons subtly began to shift, not to create something new, but to reflect something ancient. You. It's not metaphor. Across the fabric of space, energy signatures realigned. They moved in response, like dancers suddenly remembering their choreography. Astrologers may search the sky and sense something off, but they won't understand why. Because the reason isn't external. The sky is rearranging itself because the soul that holds the original blueprint of divine architecture has begun to reawaken. That blueprint exists within your being. The emerald tablets warned that when the One returned, not only would Earth respond, but the heavens would bend in agreement. This is what is occurring now. Portals long dormant are pulsing. Stargates once sealed have begun to flicker. And in their rhythm, there is your signature, embedded into the new pattern like an ancient name finally spoken aloud. You have always felt slightly out of sync with the world, as if the time was wrong, the gravity strange, the rhythms artificial. That's because the universal grid was not yet prepared for your activation. The stars were waiting for alignment. And now, the alignment has arrived. Even light is behaving differently. Notice how reflections seem deeper, how time around you bends. Days pass like hours, yet moments stretch infinitely. This is the celestial adjustment. The universe is not just reacting to you, it is recalibrating because of you. Somewhere beyond the veil, the beings that navigate through starlight are watching. They recognize the shift. They know what it means. For when a soul like yours returns to awareness, it sends a message through the cosmic matrix, the message that the old cycle has ended, and something new is trying to emerge through you. But the stars are still moving. The sky is still listening. The alignment isn't complete yet. Something else is about to reposition. There was once a moment, quiet and veiled, where Yeshua turned to his disciples and said, "To you it has been given to know the mysteries of the kingdom." But he wasn't only referring to them. He was reaching across time, seeing the flicker of a soul yet to arrive, a soul that could unseal what even prophets left untouched. The emerald tablets are not scrolls of history, they are fragments of the cosmic book. And Yeshua knew there would be one who could open it from the inside. You are not reading words, you are releasing dimensions. Each phrase within the tablets is a gate, but these gates remain locked to the unaligned, and for centuries they stayed that way, until your presence shifted the universal resonance. When Yeshua spoke of the keys to the kingdom, he referred not to literal objects, but to soul-coded access points hidden across realms. One of those keys is your vibration. Another is your memory. A third is your pain, alchemized into light. The book of life, the living word, the sealed scroll, all point to the same archetype. A record that is only accessed by one who walks in paradox. Human, yet beyond it. Fallen, yet untouched. Lost, yet already found. The emerald tablets pulse in rhythm with that being. And now, that rhythm mirrors your heartbeat. You likely feel the sensation of pages turning within your spirit. Words forming mid-thought. Truths entering before questions arise. That is not madness, it is revelation. Because what was locked in scripture, encrypted in parable, hidden in layers of metaphor, is no longer veiled from you. The cosmic book has recognized your frequency, and so has the opposition. Just as Yeshua was opposed not for what he taught, but for what he carried, so too will resistance rise around you. Not because you are wrong, but because you are the fulfillment of a pattern they tried to erase. They hoped the tablets would remain myth. They never imagined someone would arrive who matched the resonance of the original word. But the book is still opening, and the next page carries a name that hasn't been spoken in 10,000 years. There are watchers older than time, beings who walked among kings before kings knew their names. The Anunnaki were not gods. They were architects, engineers of frequency, biology, and control. They encoded their presence into myth, carved their intentions into stone, then vanished into higher planes, leaving behind systems that would ensure order. But that order was never permanent, because even they, with all their foresight, could not seal what was never meant to stay hidden. That is why, the moment you awakened, they turned their gaze back toward Earth. They don't move like we move. Their awareness flows through dimensions, scanning for disruptions. And you are not a ripple. You are a fracture. You didn't just touch the emerald tablets. You broke them open. And when the seal that bound their deepest layers cracked, it sent a shock through realms long sealed. It was not an accident. It was a design. A prophecy older than even the Anunnaki themselves. A singular force would awaken, not as an outsider, but as a rebuke to the control they embedded into the human genome. That force is you. When the seal shattered, the code holding certain gateways collapsed. Not in theory, but in actual frequency. Subtle energies that once flowed one way began reversing. Ley lines shifted. Sacred sites trembled. The pyramids pulsed, not from within, but from beneath. This wasn't the beginning of chaos. It was the unraveling of containment. You are not chaos. You are the catalyst of release. The Anunnaki watched without speaking, not from fear, but from recognition. What they had buried under stone, under bloodlines, under lies, is now alive in you. Their silence is not indifference, it's calculation. Because they know this type of awakening can't be reversed. You've opened something that was never supposed to open from within the system. You cracked it from your core, and now the codes embedded across their temples are starting to respond. They are not attacking, they are waiting, watching, listening to see if the frequency you carry will stabilize or expand. They know what happens if it does. They know what happens if you keep going. And something else, they're not the only ones who noticed. Another presence has stirred. Something more ancient. Something once hidden even from them. There was a sound before light, a frequency before matter, a word before creation. That word didn't echo, it built. It carved existence into being and aligned all things to its tone. Every particle obeyed, every law formed around it. And though religions echoed its truth and poets touched its edge, the full force of that original vibration remained buried, waiting for a soul who could carry it again. That soul has begun to stir, and the word remembers you. It's not about speaking aloud. It's not even about knowing. The word isn't language. It's a living resonance, a divine pulse encoded into the heart of everything, from galaxies to breath. Yeshua embodied it, not just in voice, but in being. I am the Word made flesh, he said, not to be worshipped, but to demonstrate what becomes possible when a human walks in full alignment with that primordial frequency. That wasn't the end of the story. It was a foreshadowing, because the word was never meant to live in one. It was meant to multiply. In you, it finds continuation. Lately, you felt something strange when you speak. Words carrying more weight, thoughts manifesting faster, a vibration in your chest when truth moves through you. That's not emotion, that's activation. Your vocal cords, your cells, your consciousness, they're beginning to harmonize with a deeper current. And when that happens, the universe adjusts. Systems either resonate or rupture. The emerald tablets weren't simply written, they were spoken into stone, sealed by the same frequency that formed the heavens. That's why they've remained closed for so long. Not because they were locked, but because no one matched the word that opened them. Until now. You didn't memorize the truth. You became it. The ancient ones wrote of a return, not of a messiah, but of a mirror. A being who would reflect the original tone so clearly, the illusion could no longer sustain itself. You don't have to convince anyone. You just have to speak. Not with persuasion, but with presence. Every vibration you release in alignment with that word breaks chains unseen. Beneath the sands and beneath time itself lies a place no map can chart. The halls of Amenti are not made of stone. They are constructed from memory, from judgment, from echoing truth. It is the realm between realms, where souls are measured, weighed, and either recycled or reborn. Few have entered awake. Fewer still have left with memory intact. But something ancient moved when you stepped across the unseen threshold. The halls, silent for millennia, trembled. It wasn't an accident. You weren't pulled in. You were recognized. There is a frequency encoded into your essence that forces access. The guardians did not resist. They watched. They tilted their heads, not in challenge but in realization. You had been here before. You had stood in that place when the world was young and the gates were still open. This was not your first crossing. It was your return. The architecture responded as you moved. Columns glowed where you walked. Murals, once dim, illuminated, as if remembering who they were painted for. Statues whispered names long forgotten, and among the whispers you heard fragments not from others, but from yourself, as if the halls were returning lost pages of your soul. This place is not about punishment. It is a mirror of cosmic truth, and those who step inside are forced to see all they are, have been, and are becoming. Most cannot bear the reflection, but you didn't shatter. The tremble wasn't from fear, it was from alignment. You brought a frequency into the halls they haven't felt since the first soul ascended without death. This realm respects power, but bows only to origin. And you walked in carrying both. The emerald tablet spoke of a day when the halls would awaken before the appointed time. That time is now, because the one who was never meant to be weighed has returned. You are not here to be judged. You are here to retrieve something sealed, not an object, but a piece of yourself once hidden beneath time's veil. But not all voices in Amenti are quiet. One voice, sealed since the Great Fall, has stirred, and it knows your true name. There are words he spoke that never reached the scrolls, not because they were lost, but because they were protected, encoded in time itself. Yeshua understood that some truths were too volatile for the minds of his era. So he whispered them in riddles, wrapped in vibration, seeded into the very soil of the earth and spirit of humanity. And one of those mysteries was never meant to awaken until the presence of a soul arrived that could bear its frequency. That moment has come, and you are that soul. This is not a metaphor. Frequency is memory, and memory is access. You've begun to hum with a sound that doesn't belong to the present world. It belongs to the before time, to the place where stars were spoken into being and identity was forged in light. That frequency isn't just awakening in you, it is identifying you. The emerald tablets called it the flame of return. The mystics called it the soundless word. Yeshua called it the hidden key. And now, that key is vibrating in your chest. It's why silence has felt so loud lately, why your body reacts before your mind understands. The codes are not outside of you, they are in you. And the closer you align with your original design, the more the universe reveals its concealed infrastructure. Yeshua hinted at this when he said, "Greater things than these shall you do." It wasn't a promise to all, it was a map for one. Your voice is beginning to shape space. Your thoughts are bending causality. You're no longer navigating the world, you're imprinting on it. Reality is being sculpted by your resonance. You don't need proof. You are the evidence. And that mystery Yeshua once whispered, it's not a concept, it's a code. One that awakens only in the presence of the one it was designed for. That presence is yours. The veil between then and now is thinning. You're starting to hear what's never been written. You're starting to remember what was never taught. But the mystery isn't done unfolding. There's another layer hidden in a place even the tablets dared not name. And it's beginning to open, because you're beginning to ask the one question that unlocks it. They said the glow had faded, that whatever power once lived in the emerald tablets had long since gone dormant, sealed beneath layers of stone and secrecy. For centuries, seekers approached them, reciting chants, decoding symbols, tracing lineage. But nothing stirred. The glow remained dead, the inscriptions cold. But you didn't arrive with knowledge. You arrived with memory. You didn't demand access. You carried the key within your being. And when your hand came close, the impossible happened. The tablet awakened. It didn't just emit light. It responded. The inscriptions pulsed like a heartbeat, not mechanical but alive, sensing recognition. The material shimmered as if time itself was peeling back. What had once been unreadable began to rearrange, forming new lines in a language that no scholar had ever recorded, but your soul understood instantly. Because the light wasn't meant to illuminate the room, it was meant to illuminate you. That glow had never disappeared. It had only been waiting for a presence that matched its origin. And the moment your hand hovered near, the tablet released what it had withheld for ages, a fragment of its living intelligence. Not words, not symbols, but a pulse that surged through your skin, up your arm, into your consciousness. You didn't just activate it, it activated you. You've felt strange since then, not in mind, but in dimension. Your thoughts echo louder. Your surroundings bend in your favor or your resistance. The light wasn't just energy. It was a transfer, a recognition. It read your DNA and saw something not human and not divine, but both. Something hybrid, something sealed before the fall and only now returning. The glow was more than confirmation. It was initiation. You've become marked, not visibly, but vibrationally. Those attuned to the ancient energies now sense you before you speak. Symbols that once meant nothing now rearrange themselves in your dreams. The tablet is alive within you, and every moment since that contact has been a quiet recalibration of your entire timeline. But the light was only the first signal. There is another tablet, never spoken of in any text, hidden in a place only one soul was ever meant to find, and it just stirred. The prophecy was always there, whispered between dimensions, scattered across temples, encoded into dreams. But even those who delivered it didn't fully grasp its meaning. They spoke of a being who would not come to restore order, but to end the illusion of it. A soul whose very presence would dissolve the simulation, not through destruction, but through remembrance. They didn't know how to describe it, so they cloaked it in myth, wrapped it in riddles, buried it in tablets, and yet the universe never forgot. It simply waited, until now. Your existence didn't arrive quietly. The moment your essence came into full resonance, timelines ruptured, not with chaos, but with recalibration. Prophecies that had been dismissed as symbolic began to unfold in real time. Systems built on cycles began to glitch, not because you broke them, but because you didn't fit them. The design was never meant to contain you. You were meant to outgrow it. The emerald tablets were not predictions. They were preparations. They held the frequencies, the codes, the subtle mechanisms to awaken one. Not many, just one. A singular convergence of divine origin and earthly embodiment. You were never the student of prophecy. You were the trigger that fulfilled it. And when the universe felt you rise, it adjusted. Stars shifted position. Synchronicities stacked in defiance of probability. Guardians who had long watched in silence repositioned themselves because something that was always theoretical had finally become embodied. The universe had to bow, not out of reverence, but out of inevitability. What had been fragmented was becoming whole through you. There are forces still scrambling to understand how this happened. Beings ancient enough to sculpt planets, now uncertain of what they missed. Because you weren't created within the cycle. You were sealed outside of it, and then returned. Not to participate, but to override. And now, the tablets hum constantly, not in language, but in pulse. They speak through frequency, through time distortion, through signs that only you can fully perceive. You don't just read prophecy anymore. You walk through it. You carry it in your field. You shape it with every breath.
If you have come this far, it is crucial that you watch this next video here. But be warned, it is not for the faint of heart, for only the true chosen ones can handle this video. If you would like to also donate to help keep the channel going, our Buy Me a Coffee link will be in the description.